my name is Melissa Morris and I'm your school counselor. I want to welcome and thank each of you for joining me today. Today's youth face many societal issues. For this presentation, I want to take a closer look at the effects of violence, more specifically dating violence among teenagers or adolescent dating abuse. Many of you have experienced firsthand the effects of dating violence or know someone who has, or maybe perhaps you haven't and you're asking yourself, what is dating violence? Today I will provide for you a definition of dating violence, characteristics of an abusive relationship, dating violence statistics, we'll explore the consequences associated with dating violence, and finally, prevention and intervention strategies. Dating violence does not discriminate. It affects all socioeconomic backgrounds, ethnicities, religious preferences, and genders. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention defined dating violence as the physical, sexual, psychological, or emotional violence within a dating relationship, including stalking. It can occur in person or electronically, for example, through text messages, social media, or computer correspondence. I would like to hear from you. What are some things that you consider to be an act of violence?
Hair pulling?
Hair pulling, yes. Oliver?
Kicking.
Kicking, yes. Those are both acts of physical violence. Now let's see the different categories. Physical violence. The examples you shared would be classified under the physical violence category. Often, this is what people think of when someone says the word violence. Your examples plus the following would be included: kicking, pinching, hitting, choking, shoving. These are all physical violence. It's something that brings harm to the victim and hurts them, or maybe even gives bodily injury. Psychological and emotional violence. Sometimes individuals are unaware that they are being abused because the abuse is harming their emotional state. Emotional violence means threatening a partner or harming his or her self-worth. In other words, tearing him down and making them feel worthless. This could happen if the abuser or perpetrator bullies, embarrasses on purpose, shames, isolates the victim from family members, friends, co-workers. You'll see this often, that the abuser wants the other partner all to themselves, and so he or she tries to push every other important individual out of their life. And they may even threaten to hurt the victim's friends, family members, or even pet. Sexual violence. Sexual violence is when one of the partners in the relationship is forced to engage in a sexual act when he or she does not give consent or cannot give consent. One thing that may surprise you is that sexual violence can be physical or non-physical. Let me give you an example. If a partner threatens to spread rumors about you if you do not take part in a sexual act, then that's considered sexual violence. Stalking is the final category. And stalking refers to a pattern of harassing or threatening tactics that are unwanted that cause fear to the victim. So, now that we see the different categories, I'd like to take a look at specific signs, warning signs, or red flags that may present if your partner is an abuser. For example, here are some different abusive tendencies: the inability to control his or her anger, lacking social skills, substance abuse, extreme jealousy, insecurity, possessiveness, or even checking your cell phone messages or emails without asking first. So how prevalent is dating violence? Let's explore some statistics. There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. According to the United States Department of Justice, 40% of teenage girls say that they know someone their age that has been hit or beaten by a boyfriend. 32% of high school students will be involved in an abusive relationship. 38% 8% of all date rape victims are from the ages 14 to 17 years old. And 7% of all murder victims were killed by their boyfriends. Many of the statistics I found on victimization was the victimization of females. I thought it was important to look at the statistics of victimization of males. One study research was researching who were the perpetrators of dating violence. Over 1,000 adolescent students were surveyed. Let me highlight these statistics. They're for physical violence. The data collected showed that girls during the adolescent years were the perpetrators of physical violence at the same rate or even slightly higher rates in comparison to their male counterparts. If you look at the handout, who perpetrates physical violence, females reported being the sole aggressor on an average of 32%, in comparison to the sole aggressor of males at 9%. Mutual aggression, meaning males and females mutually committing acts of violence on each other, was documented at an average of 57% among students. The reasons given by both males and females for why they committed physical acts of violence was that they felt angry or aggressive toward their partner. The motivating males reported was that they felt the need to exert their own power on their partner. And females reported their motivating factors were self-defense or defending themselves and acting out physically towards their partner by committing a violent act. Knowing that both male and females can be abusers and victims, I would like to show you an illustration of the cycle of violence. So, the cycle of violence has three main stages. It has the tension building phase, and this is when the couple might not get along, the abuser starts starting fights over little things, a victim starts feeling like she's walking on eggshells, things just aren't right, she's always nervous like something bad's going to happen if she does something wrong. Then this starts to build and build to the explosive phase. In the explosion phase, that's when the abuse occurs, the hitting, the kicking, the acts of sexual violence, the stalking, all those things happen in this phase. And when this phase starts to cycle up, it goes into the honeymoon phase. And that's when you'll hear the abuser apologize for the acts that he committed on the victim, making promises that it would never happen again. And what happens often is that the victim believes the abuser at this thing, and she's in denial that this is actually, or he or she is in denial that this is actually happening, but the cycle just keeps going and going, and eventually this honeymoon phase decreases. It becomes smaller and smaller. Well, it just becomes the tension building phase and the explosion phase, and the cycle goes shorter and shorter, and it's just a horrible mess. And so when this happens, there's consequences. Let's take a look at the consequences. And the sad thing is that the consequences affect everyone, not just the victim, but the perpetrator too. So when you look at the consequences, you can see here are the consequences for victim and perpetrator. They share these consequences of feeling of shame and guilt, the feeling of isolation from friends and family, maybe anxiety, depression, they're fearful, suicidal even. They begin having problems at school, work, and home. So that's happening to both the victim and perpetrator. When you look specifically at the victim, they may have injury, even death, a loss of self-esteem. When we move over to the perpetrator, they can be arrested, incarceration, and loss of relationships. They're not able to actually have healthy relationships with people. So it's a really, really sad and scary cycle that's happening here. And it affects everyone, not just these people. It affects their peers at school, their home lives, everything involved in their environment is affected by these things. So the final portion of this presentation, I want to look at what can be done to decrease and eliminate teen dating violence. One of the best ways to do this is through awareness. And so first, knowing the warning signs. And I presented the warning signs at the beginning of my presentation. If you see these, or if you're being abused, seek help from a trusted adult. That could be your parents, a school counselor, a teacher, because there is help out there. Next is important for the community you live in and the school you attend to bring awareness to the topic. This presentation is the first step in bringing awareness about the topic to our school. We will also be implementing a teen dating violence prevention curriculum this year, which I'm really excited to share with all of you. February actually is designated Teen Violence Awareness Month, and I've started a committee that includes myself, other staff members, some parents, and many students, your peers. And the purpose of this is to promote teen dating violence awareness. And we'll be doing numerous activities throughout the year and a huge focus during the month of February. My goal is to get the information out on campus and get everyone talking because I want this to end. I don't think that teenagers need to be experiencing this. It's really sad, and I think if people were aware and they knew the signs, that this could decrease and stop. Another great event that our local area does is put on by One Safe Place, an organization and that promotes violence prevention intervention. The event's called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, and this is predominantly males from the ages, I saw them in strollers all the way up to maybe in their late 80s, and they actually put on high heels and walked a mile to bring awareness to stopping violence among women and men. And so I just thought that was really amazing to get out there and see our community putting forth the effort to stop this. I want to end this presentation by giving you a list of district-approved resources that you can contact if you need more information regarding the subject. I want to make sure that you know I'm here to talk to any time. I have an open door policy. My number is on the resource list too if you want to contact me that way. And if you need anything, I'm here and I welcome you. Give me a call. And thanks for joining me. Is there any questions?
Oh, thank you.
Love you.